welcome back to the Countdown. I'm the Countdown host, MJ Book, back for another episode here in the world of the Countdown. I just recorded an episode just a few hours ago, 2 in 1 day. I think I've only done that once before. Busy day in the Countdown, but love it. Had a long layoff after everything dealing with WrestleMania. Was like, instead of WrestleMania week, it was more like WrestleMania months, doing tons of podcasts, not just for my own show, but also for 3GW, for the road to WrestleMania. But it was fun. Of course, all went out to Illinois. And once again, want to thank Eric for hosting us all out there in his home. It was fun. Definitely have to do that more often. It was great to have the 3GW crew all together. And it was also nice because I got to meet somebody for the first time. And that person has been on my show before, and guess what? He is a guest on with the show right now. Blake, how is it going?
It's going great, man. I'm happy to be back. It's probably been 6 months since we did that last show, right? Something close to that.
Something close to that, but that show left its mark.
It did.
I'm assuming you heard my 1 year anniversary.
I did,
special.
yeah. Well, did I get the number 4? Well, I was close. I was up there.
You were up there.
Yeah.
In some ways, it's my favorite of all. It's my favorite in some ways because the chemistry was just so perfect.
It was there. Absolutely.
Yeah. I had not felt the chemistry on any other episode before that, and that was the episode where I first started to finally get comfortable. So,
oh, great! I'm glad I was a part of it, man. Let's do it again tonight. Have another classic.
Well, hopefully we can, but we're both passionate about our topics and subjects, so I'm pretty sure that helps in creating a good show, and that's definitely going to create a good one tonight.
And the bar is high, man. We had to execute.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm pretty confident we can do that.
It's gonna be fun, absolutely.
If not, I got plenty of alcohol, so
here we go. We'll make it a shit show, but no, it'll be great.
Exactly. And for those of you wondering what this topic is, well, last time me and Blake discussed our favorite tag team wrestlers teams, and of course it's a topic that we're both very passionate about because we both feel the same way that tag team wrestling has taken it up the ass and it's all Vince McMahon's fault. And well, Vince is also responsible for this. There is another thing in wrestling that he has screwed up, and it is in some ways even more offensive that he has screwed this up. And it is simply put, and I'm even going to hold this sucker up.
Oh,
the Intercontinental Championship.
Whoa,
this belt, back in the day, it's hard for fans to realize it now. This was the workman's belt. Absolutely. This was where the best wrestlers in the company had this belt. It wasn't a popularity contest. You were called upon to do the best work.
Yes.
And these are going to be our top 10 favorite Intercontinental Champions. Absolutely. How difficult was this list for you?
MJ, for me, this was actually really, really difficult, and I did not foresee it when we first talked about it. But when I'm going through it, I mean, just the sheer amount of people who've had the title and the different things they've been able to bring to the company through the title, it was hard to narrow it down to 10. So for me, it was actually really hard. How about you?
About half of the list was pretty easy, but as you got down to the nitty gritty toward around the bottom areas, it started to get a little rough.
Right.
And then you always feel like you're forgetting somebody. Yeah. Even though I had a list in front of me listing every single person that has ever held that belt, I still did double research to make sure I didn't miss anybody. So it was rough, but do want to preference this also by saying some of these guys may possibly be workers. Maybe they're not. They're our favorites. So you never know. You might have somebody who's just a friggin' bulldozer who doesn't have much technique. AKA a Goldberg.
We're getting going early.
Well, that's a bulldozer. That's a bulldozer.
Yeah.
Or you could have, a technical expert like a Bret Hart, for example. Yeah. It just happens to be our favorites. But we also have some honorable mentions. So what do you got?
Okay, I got four. And these are just people I knew I couldn't fit on the list, but I had to somehow, mention them. My first is China, the only woman to hold the belt. I'm a big DX fan. I mean, the original DX, like back when it was not okay to be a DX fan, like HBK, Hunter, pretty much
Hunter, and
in
just
China.
those
And then,
three.
obviously Rick Rude was there for, a little bit, then he left. And she was awesome to me. And I mean, her career should have soared. I mean, she did really very well, but I think we all wanted, more of her career. And obviously, she had like the personal issues, the addiction issues, and blah blah. But China was the only woman to hold the Intercontinental title. I believe it was Eddie Guerrero who accidentally pinned her that one time.
Accidentally. Yeah, it was accidental. Yeah, he accidentally did it.
Right. I was a huge China fan, still am. Loved her. So she was an honorable mention for me.
Rest in peace, Joni.
Yeah, rest in peace, Joni. Do you want to go? You want me to just
No, you can go ahead, man. Just go ahead and name them off.
This person, I tried my best to get inside my top 10. It just wouldn't work. But this person's a 6-time title holder. You're gonna love this. Mr. Monday Night, the whole effing show, Rob Van Dam. Inside the ropes, he was the things he did. I mean, I think you guys said on another one. Maybe it was a road to WrestleMania for 3GW. It seemed like he really just changed the game of professional wrestling. The things he would bring to the table. He was awesome. The man was awesome. I watched him in ECW and I watched him in WWE. Fantastic. Man, love the guy.
Oh yeah.
One who I put on here for out of sheer respect, I could say, because the man held the title for over 600 days, I believe, is Pedro Morales. Now, he was, kind of before my times. I didn't get to see his work, but from what I understand, he was a fantastic wrestler, and he held the belt like 620 days or just some obscene like that, like a long time. In between, I want to say like 2 reigns, maybe 3. I'm not sure. Out of sheer respect for the belt, I put him on there. And my last person I put was
he had
Pat
one.
Patterson.
Looks like he had 1 reign. Oh no, he had 2. I found the other one.
Oh, okay.
He had 1 reign, and then he lost it to Morocco, and then he got it back, and then Morocco beat him.
Okay, because I was gonna say 1 reign was 600 something days. My God, how long was it? It was over 600 days, right? I'm not mistaken.
His first reign was 194 days, and the second one was 425. Now,
there you go.
For fans nowadays, they have no idea that reigns could be like that.
No, you don't see that. Last time you seen something like that was, AJ had about a year-long reign, and Punk 400 something days. So
yeah, we don't see reigns like this anymore. Not like this. Not like that.
No. And yeah. But my last person is actually our inaugural Intercontinental Champion. I mean, someone who was a favorite in professional wrestling is Pat Patterson. I believe he won the belt at some quote unquote tournament that happened in Brazil that there's no video footage of, but I mean, he is the inaugural champion. He was well loved backstage, and rest in peace, Pat.
Definitely. I got some honorable mentions too, and I'm just going to say the first person's name out of pure respect, and you just said his name, Pat Patterson.
There you
Cannot do this list without saying his name, Pat. Even though by the time I knew pretty much who he was a stooge, but and cross-dressing and in matches, wearing evening gown matches and stuff like that. But I knew the history, I knew what he had done, and definitely big time respects to Pat Patterson. Rest in peace, sir. And another one, I had China as well as an honorable mention.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about. Awesome.
Big time respect to China. First ever female to get that belt. She was a trailblazer in so many different ways. She was at one point a number 1 contender for the WWE Championship at one point. So this woman was an absolute trailblazer. Things should have gone a lot better. She finally got in the Hall of Fame, but not the way it should have been. And even when she finally got in, it felt like they just kind of forced it, and
like a watered down.
It was a water that she deserved her own time. She went in with DX. And
Yeah.
that's kind of how they played it off. She
Right.
deserves to go in on her own.
Absolutely.
Just her. The
Absolutely.
the women's division owes China a big deal because she was not out there being a diva.
No.
Even though when she was being all, doing a little bit more on the sexy end, she was kicking ass and taking names.
She was. Remember the stuff with her and Mark Henry when they were going on the date?
Oh, jeez.
Oh, man, that made me laugh, man. That made me
laugh. Yeah, I remember that.
laugh.
Unfortunately, this is another rest in peace.
Yeah.
Owen Hart.
Oh, okay.
Owen Hart.
Okay.
That nugget.
Yeah.
I was not a big time fan of Bret, but I loved Owen Hart. I loved Owen Hart.
I loved them both. I mean, Bret was always kind of like I think me and you talked about it. He's a grumpy old man, but Bret was he was the truth. And Owen too.
Yeah, I respect Bret, but as a fan, I did root for Owen. I just always did. I don't know why. Well, I do know why. He was against Bret. That's why. Shelton Benjamin.
Yeah, absolutely. Over a 300-day reign between, I don't know how many, over 300 days as champ. I don't know how many reigns he had, but
this isn't gonna tell me exactly how many, because it goes in order listing it, and when they get it back, it lists it again. So it doesn't tabulate it quite like that. I have to go to a completely different list to see, but
I know he has over 300 days of being IC champ, though.
I'm looking. I wish this list was a little bit better put together, but I guess I shouldn't complain. I hope he's not way at the bottom of this. Yeah, I'm not even finding his name. I know he's in here somewhere. I'm trying to find it too quickly, and I'm not finding it. He's in there somewhere. He must be. There he is. He had 3 reigns. Total 354 days.
There you go.
But Shelton Benjamin.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a damn shame because the guy has severe talent. He just could not talk. And he just couldn't present himself as a character. No. And ultimately that's what did it. And it's a shame because he could have been WWE champion 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times easily.
It seems like he's just like a reserved type guy. He just never found a character. He was just Shelton Benjamin.
He projects himself out with his abilities, but not with his mouth and not what he says. And that's why he always just kind of held a back seat, but that was a hell of a back seat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jeff Hardy.
Nice pick.
Love Jeff Hardy. And I'm going to my last honorable mention, another rest in peace. Actually, there's one, Goldust is another one I like. And last honorable mention, rest in peace, British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith, Hall of Famer. Davey didn't have it long, but it felt so good to finally see him get that singles belt because he just didn't get a lot of them. So
no. And that was my thing with Jeff too. Like he had good reigns with the belt. But I always looked at him like, when you think of Jeff, you think of the Hardy Boys. You know what I mean? And you think about his TLC stuff, and that was always,
exactly
a separation for me.
But of the Hardys, he had the better singles career.
Absolutely.
In some respects. As far as belts, he had the better career. Gimmick wise, Matt, I think, passed him with that whole delete stuff. Once he came up with that delete stuff, he completely passed him on the gimmick wise. But
he played that up. Yeah.
He played it up. But those are my honorable mentions. All right. Let's get on with this countdown. This is a 10-spot countdown. 10 favorite Intercontinental Champions. Again, they could be technical workers, bulldozers, popularity contests, whatever. They just happen to be our faves. What's your number 10?
This is going to start off weird because number 10 is not, and I repeat, is not one of my favorite wrestlers at all. He was not a technical worker. He was not a 60-minute Iron Man technician. He was more of a character and a look, but and I'm willing to say I did not like this person's wrestling, but he did elevate the belt, and I have no choice but to put him on the list. And I think you know where I'm going. Number 10 is the Ultimate Warrior. He made that belt. Yeah, I know he's your guy. I know, but I mean, here you're not gonna watch a Warrior match to see heel hooks and oh goodness, was that the Ultimate Warrior wine you got?
Yep, Ultimate Warrior wine.
Yeah,
there it is, baby. Ultimate Warrior wine.
Warrior he was a fan favorite, not mine. People loved him. He was strong. So here's a question for you, because you're a Warrior guy. Did he slam Andre the Giant, or is only Hulk Hogan did? So I thought I heard that he did too, but I just don't remember.
He did, but it wasn't something that was really, they didn't focus a lot on it.
Okay.
They just never really focused. Plus, Andre didn't like him.
Really?
Andre did not like the Warrior. And Andre really wouldn't do a lot of favors for people he didn't like.
No.
In fact, he would punish you.
If you were watching his documentary, I'm sure you have. But what was it on? Maybe HBO. I can't remember. But one person he did not like was the Macho Man, and he would beat the tar out of poor Randy Savage.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Andre would stand on his hair.
Yeah.
He would stand on the Warrior's hair and yank him up, and he would do everything to. But from what I've been told, he did actually do it, but it was like at a house show, something like that.
That barely
so
counts.
it doesn't really count.
Okay.
And Andre didn't want that happening, so from what I've been told, he did it behind his back, essentially.
Well, I got to give Warrior respect. I mean, they gave him his own straps before that kind of stuff was even going on. I mean, he was a Warrior. People looked at him, looked at that belt, and he went on a tear. He was bodying people. I mean, the matches lasted 2 minutes, but he was beating the hell out of people. So I got to give him over. Let me see what I got here. 432-day reign. Not sure how many. I'm sorry. 432 days of the champion. Not sure how many reigns. It might be like 2 or something like that. Maybe 3. But my number 10 is the Warrior. It was 2? Okay.
It was 2. Yeah, it was 2. All right. My number 10. Again, this is definitely not a tech. He can do some technique, but it's definitely not what he's known for. And part of it is definitely a sentimental favorite. And I would love to say this guy's number 1, but it would just not be a very good list if I make this guy number 1. The Hot Rod, the Hot Scott.
There you go. Nice.
Roddy Piper.
That's your guy.
Piper, yeah, that's my guy. That is my favorite of all time. He is numero uno.
That's your guy.
He did not get a lot of belts in the old WWF. In fact, he pretty much got none.
Yeah.
When he got that IC belt by beating, I believe it was the Mountie.
Oh, the Mountie had it? Oh, gosh.
Yeah, the Mountie had
Brutal.
it. Yeah. But it just felt so good to see Roddy Piper finally having gold, because the guy should have been WWF champion, period. He should have been. It is a mistake, a crime that he never had that belt. He could get the crowd's reaction no matter whether you were booing or cheering or spitting at him or you tried to stab him, because all of those happened. But the Hot Rod is just the all-time great, and thank goodness I got to meet that man and thank him for all the years of entertainment he gave me in the wrestling ring, for all the years entertainment he gave on the mic, even the movie and TV career he gave me entertainment. So Roddy Piper, all-time great, Hall of Famer, rest in peace. Lost him way too soon, but he predicted he would not live past the age that he did end up dying. He predicted it. So as sad as that is, it's really sad, but got to thank Ronda Rousey for giving Piper all the respect in the world when she came into the WWE. She was showing a tribute to Piper, and she did that her entire time there. So big time props to her on that. And rest in peace, Roddy. Number 1. He only had the belt one time, but he did have it for 77 days. So
it was funny. I was watching a few months ago. No. It was right before the Rumble. I was watching my favorite Rumble, the one where when Ric Flair won. And I remember somehow everyone got eliminated. And Ric Flair's the only one in the ring because he came in at number 3. Hot Rod came out, the crowd went berserk. And Rick sees him coming. Rick's like, oh, and you see his face is like, oh no, please, please, please. And Roddy just beat the piss out of Rick.
That's Roddy. He's a brawler.
Like you said, he got the reaction. Yeah, he got the reaction. He was, he could work both sides, face, heel. He was, wow, gone too soon.
Far too soon. What is your number 9?
Now, this is a guy I really, really, really like, and I kind of felt he should have got more in WWE than he got, and that is Ravishing Rick Rude. Rick Rude was awesome.
Rob is going to love you.
Yeah, I love Rick Rude, man. I love Rick Rude. I would be watching a match of his. My mom would come downstairs, and she was already on the fence about me watching wrestling as his. I'll tell you about the time she caught me watching ECW another day, but she caught me watching Rick Rude, and he's doing his thing, and he's moving his hips around. My mom comes downstairs, and she looks at me. I look at her. She just shakes her head and goes back upstairs. He actually got a good match out of the Warrior, like a really good in-ring match. I think this one he dropped the belt back to him, I want to say. I have him down for 1 reign, 148 days. He was I just don't think he gets the flowers he deserves. Great IC champ. He should have been WWE champ time and time again. I know he had injuries and all that kind of stuff, and he was really good friends with Mr. Perfect.
Yeah. Perfect. Oh yeah, they trained together. They were out of the same gym up in Minnesota.
When Rude passed, I'm sure you've seen that interview with Mr. Perfect. Like he's just heartbroken.
He was destroyed. He was crushed.
Yeah. Rick was an great in-ring worker. I love the guy. I loved his work. That was my number 9.
Yeah, he never got the WWE E or F championship, but he did get WCW's. He was a WCW heavyweight champion, so he did get some credit, but it was at the very end of his career. It was right before he had to leave again, and of course, unfortunately, he passed away due to tragic things. So rest in peace to Ravishing Rick. I was never a fan of Ravishing Rick. I couldn't stand him. But I couldn't stand him. I couldn't stand him. So he did his job right.
Cut the music. He'd come out and say, "Cut the music," and start talking trash. I loved it.
I couldn't stand him. I couldn't stand him. He was feuding with all my faves. He feuded with Warrior. He tried to steal Jake's wife. I couldn't. But he is involved in one of my favorite memories. Ravishing was kind of dancing out of the ring, and Jake dove in, and Ravishing had Jake's wife's picture on his tights.
Yeah, that's another thing I loved.
And Jake ran out there and he pulled those things down and they had to blur it. I was dying of laughter. My mom had to say, "Boy, what are you doing in there?" I'm like, "I'm sorry." I couldn't. I was rolling. I was dying of laughter.
Good stuff.
All right. My number 9. Very similar to what you just said about Ravishing Rick Rude. This is another guy who didn't get his full break in the WWF at the time.
Mm-hmm.
He did get an Intercontinental reign, but it was rather short, very short. It was shorter than Piper's reign, as a matter of fact. He only had it one time, but one hell of a time to get it because he was involved in the greatest wrestling match in the history of wrestling.
I might know who it is.
Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
I knew it.
Ricky only had that thing 65 days. And that might seem long nowadays. But back then, there's no Raw. There's no SmackDown. You don't have pay-per-views every month. Back then, you only really had 2 a year. And then it grew eventually to 3 and then 4. And then they started having In Your Houses. And then it just blew up. But he only had it for 65 days till he lost it to the Honky Tonk Man. Ricky the Dragon just never got his full dues and creds. He's one of the most underrated, and I think Rob said this as well. He's one of the most underrated wrestlers there has ever been. people just don't say
Absolutely.
Ricky's name. They don't, and it's
Absolutely.
offensive. He is a great worker. And Ric Flair has always said the person he enjoy. When people ask him who's his favorite dance partner, he
Yeah,
always says Ricky.
he
And
does.
who inducted Ricky the Dragon into the Hall of Fame? It was Ric Flair. So that says it all right there. So Ricky, I wish he would have gotten a better break. He
Right.
did in WCW. He got a much better break there than he did in WWF at the time. He did come back, and that's when he did that fire breathing thing. I hated they had him doing that.
Yeah.
Uh, but couldn't do this list without Ricky. Again, he was involved in the greatest match of all time. I mentioned this on a previous episode with Macho Man Randy Savage at WrestleMania 3. Nothing has ever beaten that damn match, and I just don't see anything ever doing it. So
it's a classic. So let me ask you this. I thought I heard somewhere that Ricky needed some time away. Maybe I can't remember why. Maybe he was having a child being born or something like that. And
he was a family man. He had no problems taking time off, saying, "Hey, look,
yeah.
I got a kid getting born."
So
Bye.
I think that was why they forced him to drop the belt, and then pretty much just not gave him the belt back much. Had him losing people he had no business losing to.
Oh, he left shortly after losing that belt. He was literally shortly after losing it. He was gone.
Okay,
he was gone,
yeah,
and then he eventually showed up in WCW.
I think it was a problem with him and Vince. I think because I read that he needed some time off, and Vince wasn't trying to hear it, and that led to his 60-something day reign, which should have been 200-day reign.
Oh, he should have been a multiple time. He should have been a WWF champion.
I remember, and like you're saying, like there was no Raw, there was no SmackDown, there wasn't a pay-per-view every month, there was no Backlash, all this other crap. There used to be Mania. Later came the Rumble. There was Survivor Series. And we weren't missing. There was SummerSlam, and that's all you got. And then they started doing the in your houses and all that kind of stuff. And now here we are today. But back then, you had a few pay-per-views, and you had to wait some months to get to see all the good shit.
Primetime Wrestling. That was the show we had.
Different
and
time
all that.
Now.
And that was pre-recorded matches happening all over the place, usually in Madison Square Garden. But that's what we had. Primetime Wrestling. 2 hours of wrestling as opposed to 3.
That's what you get. And that's what you get. And oh, God. That's what you get, and you better like it.
Evidently, a lot of people did. But that is my number 9. Salute to Ricky. I have his DVD. Definitely urge everybody to pick up that DVD. It's a very good DVD, but the WWE did for Ricky the Dragon.
Nice.
What's your 8?
My number 8, and this one is going to surprise you. I'm sure it will. And I picked this person because of his sheer passion that he wanted to give the belt. He wanted to make the belt mean something.
I think I already know who it is.
This person's Cody Rhodes. And I mean, Cody can wrestle. I'm not gonna say anything negative. He's with AEW now. Cody could he could go. And the passion he showed the belt, his promos, how when he's giving a promo about what that belt meant to him, you believed it. You absolutely believed it. He went back to the like the original type belt before they just went and did it. He brought that belt back. I appreciate his passion towards it. He had a pretty good run. I didn't write down the days. He had a pretty damn good run with the belt too. I'm gonna say he's in the 200s.
I'm looking at this list.
I'm gonna say he was in the 200s with it.
Well, he's not down at the bottom, so
236.
Yep.
One reign, 236 days.
Yep. No, he had 2 reigns.
2? There you go.
Cody had 2. He had it for 257 days.
Well, I only got 1 of them. See, you can't trust Bleacher Report.
Well, you can't trust Wikipedia either. But
there you go. So there, he had a lot of passion towards the belt. That's my number 8. He deserved to make my list.
Cody was an untapped talent that the WWE wasted. Again, I feel this is going to be a running segment with Intercontinental Champions that they just never were able to get it right because they generally weren't popular with Vince. Generally, these are popular with fans. Piper, popular with fans. Ricky, popular with fans.
There you go.
Cody, he got popular with fans eventually once they turned him face. When he was heel, he got the reaction with the bags on the heads. People would show up with bags on their heads. So that proves he was getting that over.
He did. RVD, popular with fans.
Yep. So, definitely. Cody's in a better spot now. He's being utilized. God. He's being utilized far better. People are getting, even though his matches sometimes he gets a little goofy, but
his matches now. I mean, I can take or leave his matches now. I can take him or leave them.
At least he's not has a star on his face.
That is Stardust. Yeah, exactly. Man, I can't believe it. Yeah.
But he went to the hilt with that character. Got to give him that. He was wackier than Goldust ever was.
You know what? And that's the thing. You can give him some crap, and he's gonna make it work. There you go.
That was an odd character, and he did interviews. He would show up on interviews where it's supposed to be Cody. He'd show up full blown Stardust. He would do the whole Stardust gimmick. It's like, dude, you don't have to go that far, but I applaud you.
Hey, but look at that's the commitment he's showing there. The commitment he's showing to being IC champion. And that's why I appreciate it.
Definitely. My number 8. Definitely another underappreciated wrestler. A name that gets thrown around a lot on 3GW for that exact same thing. He is one of the most underutilized talents going today. He has never gotten his full credit, and it continues to be a stain. He has had the Intercontinental title 6 times for a total of 372 days. He's the show off. Dolph Ziggler.
Dolph Ziggler. Absolutely.
I don't care what people say about him being a Billy Gunn lookalike. I've heard that too. I get it. He does. Did he use the Famouser for a while? Yeah, he sure as hell did. I don't care. He's not the same kind of worker that Billy was. Billy was not that good a worker. He was a decent worker. Dolph is an amazing worker in the ring. He is never boring. No. He's just never boring in that ring. He gives you his all, even though he's pissed. Even though he could just go in there and just say, fuck this. I wish, I don't know how long his contract is. I just wish he'd leave. It's such a crime that this guy has never been WWF. He had the World Heavyweight Championship, but he had it for like 2 days.
Oh yeah, it wasn't long.
He won it on one of those nights after WrestleMania Raws where the crowd goes nutty. They were chanting his name all damn night. All night they were chanting his name. And Alberto Del Rio had just gotten beat up. I think it was by Jack Swagger.
Ugh,
and
crap.
And the crowd was chanting Ziggler, Ziggler, Ziggler. And Lawler's like, are they saying Coulter? Coulter? It's like, yeah, that's what they're saying. Coulter. And as soon as his music hit, here he comes. The crowd, just a huge pop.
Huge pop.
He was with CM Punk's wife at the time. Yeah. And Big E Langston.
Yes. Yeah.
He was with Big E Langston at the time.
Yep.
And he won the World Heavyweight Championship. The place blew up. Dolph is so underappreciated, and he's not listening to this show. But Dolph, if somehow the words get to you, we appreciate you, bro. You should be a 5-time WWF champion, definitely. And as far as I'm concerned, you are a friggin' Hall of Famer. You are one of the best workers in the history of this business. And I'm a fan, and I'm going to always be a fan no matter what you do. My number 8 is Dolph Ziggler.
Dolph Ziggler. No. Nick Nemeth, okay, is an absolute 10-tool worker inside those ropes. Inside the ropes, you'll be strapped to find someone who's a better worker than him. Patterson, loved Dolph Ziggler
Yep. Yes, he did.
and would berate Vince to push him.
Push him.
I don't know what. I mean, he was over at the crowd. He could be face. He's a fantastic heel. Right now, he's a tag team champ with Robert Roode. They're barely on SmackDown. It's just
well, you could have just stopped it by saying he's a tag team champ. That tells you the level he's at.
There you go.
Because those belts don't mean a damn thing. So that says it right there.
You know how you could fix that? And I don't want to stray because I know we're talking about the IC belt, but if you combine them, Raw and SmackDown, if you just do that would be a step in the right direction to me. But
yeah, just hit the refresh button.
Oh, you gotta do something.
Hit the refresh button. Tell everybody, hey, look, we're gonna make the titles one, and we're gonna do a tournament for these tag team championships.
There you
go.
Starting
this over. You're no longer champ. You're no longer champ. Tournament started all over.
Yeah, but in the ropes, Dolph Ziggler, he's amazing. He's absolutely amazing. The best seller in professional wrestling today.
Yes, he is. He's a damn
hands
seller.
down, bar none. I won't argue about it with anybody. The best seller in pro wrestling.
It's an old saying. He sells like Ricky Morton. It's an old saying, but that's how good of a seller he is. He sells like Ricky Morton.
All right, for me, number 7, Razor Ramon. Razor Ramon. I was a big Razor guy. I have him at over 400 days as IC champ, 2 classic matches with Shawn Michaels. Razor, okay, he wasn't the best worker in the ring, but he had the character, he had the personality. When you looked at him, he was like, okay, this guy is this guy is the IC title. He had the look. He oozed machismo, as he told you every single week on your program. He was the guy. I got a lot of love for Razor Ramon. Hope he's doing well now. And that is my number 7.
He had a rough patch. I haven't heard anything since it sounded like he went off the wagon again.
Yeah, not too long ago. Yeah.
I haven't heard anything since, so I'm hoping that's a good thing. Because if he was doing something, unfortunately, we would have heard. At least that's how I'm going to take it.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely Razor.
I heard about a couple months ago. Yeah, I heard about a few months ago maybe he was having another hard time, but I haven't heard nothing since. So hopefully he's better.
He seemed okay at WrestleMania, the Hall of Fame thing. He seemed okay.
He seemed okay, yeah. He was going to DDP's yoga thing too.
Oh, I remember the pictures. He gotten himself ripped.
Yeah.
He got ripped.
Dude, DDP's a miracle worker over there, man. The stuff he's doing over there.
Oh, he's just a saint.
Yeah.
He's just a saint.
He is.
Things he did with Jake.
Yes.
He's a saint. He's just a saint.
So here's, for the not so much on your show, but on the 3DW show, everyone knows I'm a big AJ Styles #1 fan right now. When he was coming over from WWE from New Japan, his body was just, because me and you watch New Japan, they have a different style of wrestling.
They have a different style. It's different. Yeah.
And it's hard. A lot of falls in your neck. So
very physical.
AJ's back was so messed up. He was having trouble walking. He went to DD and he signed a contract, obviously, for he knew he was appearing in the Rumble. He went to DDP, turned him around all the way around so he could compete. He could barely walk. AJ was in awful shape. I don't even know if he was even 40 at the time. He might have been 39, 30, like my age, like in late 30s, early 40s, But DDP got him turned around. That guy's a saint.
Yep, definitely. No doubt on that. All right, my number 7. I hate that I always have to preference before I say this man's name. I shouldn't have to, but people get funny as soon as the man's name gets uttered.
Oh, I need to hear this.
I am talking simply about a person's in-ring ability. I am not talking about anything that the man did in his personal life. My number 7 is a 4-time Intercontinental Champion. He had it for 159 days. He's the crippler, Chris Benoit.
Okay.
Erasing the personal stuff.
Yes.
which I know it's hard for people to do. I am talking about his in-ring ability. And in-ring ability, he is without a shadow of a doubt one of the greatest to ever do it. It does not matter which era you go in. Chris Benoit is one of the greatest to ever do it. A tremendous wrestler, tremendous seller. His action and violence, whatever you want to say, in the ring was extremely believable.
Absolutely.
And mainly that's because he just somehow was able to do it, but he really wasn't hurting people. It looks like he's torturing people.
Absolutely.
But he was able to execute those moves in such a degree that he really wasn't hurting people except for those chops.
Yeah.
He killed you with the chop. Those chops were brutal. You heard those things echo. I was in an arena when he did those chops. You could hear that thing through the entire arena. It's like, Jesus Christ. He just punctured my vessels in my chest. So Chris Benoit, all-time great. In any other world, he is already in the Hall of Fame. Because if you look at the career, again, look at the career, he's 5-time Hall of Fame. I mean, he's just there. Period. Hall of Fame could be named after him.
Yeah.
Because he's that damn good. It's a shame what happened, but still a tremendous champion and involved in one of my favorite memories, of course, when he finally won the World Heavyweight Championship in WWE. And that moment, that moment with the late Eddie Guerrero, that was real emotion right there. It's why I own that WrestleMania on DVD, was for that match and moment. I know people may feel funny to be saying it, but I'm talking about the wrestling career. Rest in peace, Chris Benoit, my number 7.
So I was doing my list, and I don't remember when it was because I've been working on it, but I was like at like number 9 or something, and I started to write Chris Benoit's name, and I was just like, you know what? Separate what he did inside the ring from what, other things. So I left him off. But as far as him being a professional wrestler, shit, he was absolutely fantastic. And I'm gonna leave it at that.
I couldn't leave him off. I just couldn't do it.
Oh, I don't blame you one bit. I don't blame you one bit.
His name had to get mentioned. I didn't know if you were gonna say it, but I was like, I gotta say it.
I wrote his name down at number 9, so I would have had to bump Warrior off and put Rude at 10. But I looked at it and I was like, I
get it.
Yeah,
I get it. It's rough. It's hard to say the man's name.
It is.
I'm just looking at his in-ring ability. That's all I'm looking at. I'm not supporting or anything what happened out. I'm just saying the ropes.
No, inside the ropes. Alrighty.
Number 6, sir.
Number 6. Number 6 is a fantastic professional wrestler. Could work the mic. Career that ended too soon. Owen Hart is my number 6. He didn't have the IC title that long. I got 2 reigns, 130.
He did not. Days. He did not have it that long.
He didn't. Only 100 and something days. And I feel like it got a black cloud over it because of the pile driver he did on Stone Cold, of course. But
132 days, 2 reigns.
Okay, there you go. So didn't have it for like, a groundbreaking amount of time. But at the time they were pushing Stone Cold. And that was the right decision. He was the guy. And I feel like he gets, a kind of a black cloud over him because the botched pile driver. That aside, Owen Hart was one of the best in the business. I feel like he should have got more title reigns. He should have been WWF back then champion. Fantastic professional.
He had every other belt except that.
There you go. He even had the European belt. He was tagging with Yokozuna. Remember that?
With Jim Cornette managing him. Yep, I remember.
There you go. Yeah.
Back when he was also a 2-time Slammy Award winner.
Yeah,
he liked to
because he used to come out.
He would always
come out. He held him. But that's what I'm talking about. It's a cellular trophy. But if you act like if you are so proud of that, you are putting that thing over, people are going to believe, and people talk about Owen Hart like, man, shit, he's a 2-time Slammy winner.
I can't even name any other Slammy Award winners, but I know Owen had it twice.
There you go. And he held him, and he made sure you knew it. He was not playing.
It was on his tights. He had about his tights. He had the Slammies on his tights.
Oh man, he did. You're right.
He sold it. He sold that. He sold that way better than people sell those belts.
Yeah, he sold it because I remember Bret Hart was cutting. He was cutting remember he was cutting that promo on Shawn and Hunter, and he was saying Shawn barebacked his way up the top of the card. This back they really hate each other.
Yeah, they really.
If you look at the Hart Foundation, you can't say that shit no more. Woo! But if you look at the Hart Foundation, Owen's there holding them 2 Slammies, and he's putting them over. He's like, look, these are no joke. I earned these. But I loved Owen Hart. He was a fantastic wrestler. The match he put on with Bret at WrestleMania, oh gosh, 9? Ugh, you might remember it. But anyway, it was a classic.
It was single-digit WrestleMania.
It was absolute classic. Absolute classic. That was my number 6, Owen Hart.
Definitely rest in peace to Owen Hart. And
rest in peace, Owen.
I unfortunately remember I was watching it with Rob. I was watching that horrible night.
I was watching too.
I was watching at Billy Joe's Picture Show, and everybody, they went to the back, and they're all of a sudden they just kept showing the crowd. You're like, what the hell's going on here?
It was really weird. Yeah,
and it's like they're going to the crowd. You can hear it in the announcers' voices. Something done happen.
It was Jim Ross, right? Jim.
Yeah. He was the one that had to tell the world that Owen Hart had died. We knew it that night before we left the pay-per-view. We knew he'd passed away.
Yeah, I was watching it. Yeah.
And I remember, I don't like this wrestler, but I will always remember his interview backstage. Jeff Jarrett was being interviewed with Deborah. He was just losing it. He was bawling because he and Owen had been doing some skits and gimmicks together. So he'd gotten to know Owen pretty well. And amongst the wrestlers, everybody just spoke glowingly of Owen. He was a practical joker. He was a funster, family man. Nobody ever really said a bad word about Owen. So it's a damn shame what happened. It's part of the reason Bret is so damn salty. You can I understand it. He lost his brother, and in some ways the WWE is responsible for that. They are responsible for that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So he definitely has good reasons, but rest in peace to Owen Hart, the Rocket, the Nugget, whatever, the Black Heart, all the and of course 2-time Slammy Award winner.
Don't you ever forget it.
I never will. He made me make sure I never will.
He did.
All right, my number 6 was already mentioned by you. He's a 6-time Intercontinental Champion. He had it for 224 days. He was Mr. Monday Night.
Yeah.
Mr. Pay-Per-View.
Yeah.
The whole fucking show. Rob Van Dam. The Intercontinental belt at this point, it was
treading water.
It was treading water. It was borderline just becoming popularity contest. Nobody credible really having that belt. Nobody really making it mean anything. Every now and then you'd have somebody that did. But I remember Kane had it. It's like, really? I like Kane, but
he ain't got no business with that damn belt.
Come on. Yeah. And then Rob Van Dam got it. And Rob made that belt mean something again.
Yes, he did.
Rob made the Intercontinental title mean a whole lot again. He made it back to that era of Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and Randy Savage. He brought it back to that era where I'm sure Pat Patterson was glowing seeing that belt was finally meaning something. Good quality matches were happening
Absolutely.
with that Intercontinental title, and that's because that's what Rob Van Dam does. He is again one of the greatest workers in the history of this business, bar none. Finally, a Hall of Famer, thank God. A wrestler I got to see many a times on, of course, not only on the screen but also in person. I got to see him as a wrestler in WWE, WWF, but I also got to see him in ECW. I went to an ECW show, and I got to see him because he smashed Scotty Riggs' nose and broke it and shattered it to a million pieces. Got to meet the man, Rob Van Dam, when we have an arena here called the Wells Fargo Arena. It was just opening up. He was there signing autographs, and he was the coolest, nicest, most awesome dude that
Everyone
there ever was.
Everyone says that.
He stayed there for he stayed there longer than he was supposed to, because he wanted to make sure that everybody that was in that line got the autograph, got to meet with him, and he talked to everybody. This
awesome,
wasn't just one of those sign here, sign here, sign here. He talked to everybody. I was wearing my ECW RVD shirt. He looked at it and he's like, I haven't seen that shirt in a while. I'm like, yeah, I bought it in Kansas City when you broke Scotty Riggs' nose. He's like, oh, I remember that one. He remembered it. So RVD, just an awesome dude. I'm glad he is a Hall of Famer, very deserving. I wish his WWE career would have been a little bit better, just a little bit better, but at least we could say he was the WWE champion.
Yeah,
he did get it, and the only reason he lost it is because he and Sabu got busted for having weed. So, which it's RVD. I mean,
of course he has weed.
His shirt was 420. I just smoked your ass. Come on, it's a pothead.
He is, but he was fantastic. Like I said before, it seems to me like the stuff he was doing, he changed professional wrestling forever. I mean, he was an innovator.
He could still go.
Oh, absolutely. He was in I don't know where he's signed to now or if he signed anywhere, but if he was in Impact as of like 6 months ago.
He showed up at some local independent show somewhere, because I saw the video on YouTube. He showed up just randomly at some small venue. The place blew up. The place just blew up as soon as he showed up, and he was executing all his moves just like normal. The guy can still go. I have no idea how old that dude is, but the guy can still go. Salute to Rob Van Dam, RVD, the whole fucking show. My number 6.
He was awesome, man. He was
amazing.
Awesome.
Amazing.
Top 5 now. Top 5.
Top 5. The nitty gritty here. We're getting to our all-time favorites. Possibly some of the greatest Intercontinental Champions of all time, or just happen to be our favorites.
Well, number 5 is, I mean, he's one of my favorite, and I wanted to move him up. I wanted to move him up so bad, but I just couldn't. Like I said, I struggled doing my list this time. My number 5 is Mr. Perfect. He got it done in the ring. He was a promo. He is a 2-time champion, over 406 days. Fantastic technical wrestler. The matches he had with Bret Hart, classics. Mr. Perfect was awesome. He was a heel. So I come on there, he was one of them guys I just love to hate. Like, oh man, Mr. Perfect. But he was fantastic. Rest in peace, Curt Henning. I mean, just an amazing professional wrestler. I wanted to put him like in my top 3. I tried my best because when I look back and I think about the people, when I think of the IC title, he is one of the first people who pop into my head, and he is the true workhorse of that title. Like every time you see him on TV, it's damn near almost every time he's putting up the title for a title defense against someone. Almost every single time.
Yep.
He an amazing guy, amazing talent. Nothing but respect for the guy. Rest in peace to Curt Hennig.
Definitely. I have his DVD also that the WWE put together. I have Perfect's DVD. Definitely recommend watching that one. Definitely big props to Mr. Perfect.
That perfect plex. Woo!
And he always nailed it perfectly. He
You
did
were
everything
done.
perfectly. He did
You
everything
did.
perfectly.
You were
I miss
done.
those vignettes. I miss those damn vignettes
Mhm.
because he was really doing all that stuff. He did all of it.
Oh, absolutely.
And they said generally, now they could be just bullshitting, but they said he would always do it in one take. Now they could be bullshitting that, but it could be just to help build the character a little bit.
Right.
But it more than likely they're probably just bullshitting.
Right. Of course.
But who cares? Because
They got it over.
he did do the behind, long distance shot, shooting it from the, with the hoop to his back, and he just threw it up. He did do that. That was totally legit. He did that.
I remember those silly vignettes they were doing with him. Dude, he was awesome, man.
He'd always catch the towel.
Yeah.
And even when he got to the booth, he would throw up the pencil and catch it perfectly.
He was great. And he had a look, man. He had a look like he was this arrogant, I'm the best. He had that look to him. You can't teach that.
Nope, you cannot teach that. Who was it that said? Oh yeah, was it Big Cass and them that said that? And you can't teach that.
Yeah, end zone Cass. Yeah, them two. Yeah.
All right, my number 5. I'm sure this will start a fight. Well, maybe not a fight, but I'm wondering how a couple of people will feel about this because they'll probably disagree, and they'll think I'm being a homer by putting him on here. But I don't care what you think. This guy, only one person, total wise, had the belt longer combined than this man. This guy had it 8 times. This man had it 597 days. Only Pedro Morales had the belt more than this guy as far as total time wise. And there's only one word for him. Awesome. The Miz.
Yeah.
The Miz. You said it about one of the people that you had put in your countdown. The Miz wanted the Intercontinental title to mean something again.
Yes.
And it was clear that he felt that belt had been thrown to the wayside. And one of my favorite moments with him was when they did that SmackDown or Smack Talk Live or whatever that stupid segment they used to do. He's talking shit to Daniel Bryan.
Oh my gosh, that got personal real quick, didn't it?
But here's the thing. Was he wrong?
No.
He was not wrong on what he said. He was not wrong on everything he was saying. He was completely right in everything in what he said. Maple may not like the fact that he was right, but he was right. But it was just a moment like that that proved to me how much that belt truly, truly meant to The Miz. He didn't act like that with the WWE Championship. He just was doing the character thing a little bit with that. But you could tell that he really cared about the Intercontinental title, and he made that belt mean something. He's one of the last people to actually make that damn belt mean something, was The Miz. So say what people want to, they can say whatever they want to about him. What I will refuse to accept is his Intercontinental reigns. Those are deserved. He's one of the greatest Intercontinental champions there ever was. Pedro Morales had the belt total time 617 times. The Miz 597. That's all I have to say. He had it 8 times. 8 times. What more do I have to say? He is awesome. He says it. He made that belt mean something. And thank you for The Miz for making that belt mean something. Because for a while, again, we'd gotten into that era. That belt didn't mean shit. So my number 5 is The Miz. Proud of it. It was an awesome reign. All 8 of them.
Look, I'm going to tell you this. I know we busted your balls. I agree with everything you just said about The Miz. And I don't know why, under my honorable mentions here, under RVD, I have The Miz on here as an honorable mention, but I don't know. I just skipped past his name for some reason. I didn't see it. The Miz, here's the thing about The Miz. He's not going to be the best in-ring worker. No one's going to argue that. but Miz had the passion for the IC belt and made that IC belt that no one's really okay. Let's look at the past. Let's call it 4 years, 5. Besides the Miz, who has really put that belt over and acted like they loved it like the Miz? I'd say maybe you can make a case for Seth Rollins.
Looking at the last few champions, Apollo Crews, Big E, Sami Zayn, Jeff Hardy, AJ Styles.
Zayn, maybe.
AJ Styles.
You can put him in the conversation.
But then
and Sami Zayn too.
Yep. Braun Strowman.
Garbage.
Shinsuke. Finn
I
Balor.
love him, but no. Shinsuke wasn't his fault, though. Wasn't his fault.
No. Finn Balor, Dean Ambrose, Bobby Lashley, Dolph Ziggler, Roman Reigns, and then we get to some Miz Reigns.
Okay, see, I'd say Seth. I can make it an argument for AJ and maybe Sami Zayn, who acted like they loved that IC title like their own child. But the Miz, I did have him down as an honorable mention. I don't know why I didn't say his name on here, but yes, he absolutely. How many reigns? You said 8, right?
8 reigns.
Yeah, I mean, what you got to mention the man's name for 8 reigns. You have to. Like I said, of course, I know I text you and bust your balls about the Miz, but everything you just said about him and his IC title reigns, I agree with.
No and he always took care of everybody in the ring. People didn't get hurt when they wrestled him. He took care of everybody.
And like he said, when he was arguing with Daniel, he doesn't get hurt.
Nope. He doesn't get hurt. He does not get hurt.
No. All righty. Number 4 for me. Ooh, it's getting tight. Number 4 for me is Bret the Hitman Hart.
Yeah,
that one I know, but Rob's gonna love me for it.
Oh yeah, I know he will.
Rob's gonna love me for it.
I know he will.
Yeah, Bret Hart. I mean, I know we say this about a lot of people. He is truly one of the best in-ring technicians you'll ever get. Over with the crowd as a face or as a heel. Made that IC title, really mean something. Let me see. Oh, his I wrote my notes here. His match with Mr. Perfect.
Clinic.
SummerSlam 1990. Woo-wee.
Clinic. It was a clinic.
Woo-wee.
Wrestling clinic.
Also, his matches with Roddy Piper too. Wrestling clinic. Actually, I might watch that tonight if I can get my kid to go sleep a decent.
That's why I said Piper could show you the technique. It wasn't a part of his thing, but he did show it with Bret.
Yeah. So. Yeah, Piper. If I get my kid to go to sleep, maybe I'll go back and watch that match. That's fantastic. I remember being a kid watching that. I have his 290-day reign. Bret Hart. How much can you say about the guy? I put him higher, but he also had great reigns with the WWF title at that time. That's the only reason I can't push him up a little bit higher. But Bret the Hitman Hart, number 4, excellence of execution.
Well, unfortunately for Bret, he's in the middle because that WWF, he's coming after the Hogan era.
Yeah.
And he's stuck in between that and the Shawn, Austin, and Rock. He's in the middle somewhere. So Bret sometimes gets forgotten about. He gets forgotten about, but because the company was kind of was kind of doing that. But it would have been just that had it not been for people like Bret Hart. So
exactly, him and Shawn, and
So Bret definitely deserves this plug. Even though I wasn't a fan of Bret, I do respect Bret. I just always booed him.
Grumpy old man now. He's a grumpy old man.
Yeah, he's grumpy. It's a shame. My number 4 is somebody you said, and anybody that knows me knows this guy's name was going to pop up. I know people feel that this guy should not even be on this list, that he is not a great Intercontinental Champion to some. He is definitely not a worker. No technique in his abilities at all.
I know.
None whatsoever.
No.
But I don't care. I love the guy. 2-time Intercontinental Champion, 434 days. My number 4 is the Ultimate Warrior.
So terrible.
I love the Warrior. I always have loved the Ultimate Warrior. Had I been a teenager or an adult, would I have loved the Warrior? Probably not. But I was a kid. I bought in. I bought into the. I mean, you can't get much more bought in than buying.
Yeah, then your Ultimate Warrior wine, yes.
Buying
Yes.
friggin' wine that's not opened, that'll never
Yeah.
be opened. This thing is, 60, like $60 for a bottle of wine that just says the Warrior on it. I mean, I got the Undertaker's too, but
Right.
A belt, all the DVDs of the Warrior I got. I've gone to a wrestling show and painted my face. I love the Warrior. I totally bought in. I did not care how goofy people felt his interviews were. I loved them.
Oh, yeah.
I loved them. I can watch those still, and I still love them. Are they utter nonsense? Of course they're nonsense. Who cares? It's wrestling. Most of the stuff they say is utter nonsense. So say what you want to, but he had bought into this character, whatever that character was. He bought into it to the hilt, to the point that he changed his name to Warrior. That tells me everything. He is bought in. So the Ultimate Warrior, that reign, that was a huge reign. He was the biggest star in the company, and Hogan was there still, and the Warrior was bigger, which is why. Oh yeah. Warrior got huge in that company. He got huge. It was when you started to see a slight generational shift in the fan base. The older fans were still Hogan, but the new fans starting to come up, those were Warrior fans. That's where I kind of fit in. Even though I remember Hogan old school, so I still fit in that era. I never liked Hogan. So So the Ultimate Warrior, I don't care what anybody says. He is my number 4 favorite Intercontinental Champion. Rest in peace. So glad you got into the Hall of Fame. Remember your Raw speech and remember feeling how I felt the next day hearing that you had passed away. Terrible, terrible day. Thank the WWE for creating that Warrior Award. He deserves it. And rest in peace to the Warrior.
Right.
Number 3, man.
The only reason I put him in out of utter respect at number 10, and I really 10.5 would have been the Miz. Like you said, you're not gonna get an in-ring technical masterpiece.
Ooh.
You're not gonna get a catch-as-catch-can clinic from the Warrior, but
no, he couldn't even spell that probably.
All right. My number 3 is arguably the only wrestler I put ahead of AJ Styles. Arguably the best professional wrestler of all time. The Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. He's my number 3. HBK, you want to talk about elevating the belt. One of the best ladder matches of all time became with him and Razor Ramon at WrestleMania 10, I want to say.
Yep. It's 10.
Putting Mario Jannetty over. Not that Mario Jannetty was a bad wrestler or anything like that, but put him over. Regain his belt from Razor Ramon at SummerSlam of that year. Another classic ladder match. That match doesn't get the acclaim it deserves. I'm not sure how many reigns, but 406 days as Intercontinental Champion.
3
reigns.
3.
406 days as champ. In the ring, inside those 4 ropes, there's no one better. AJ's probably the closest it gets. I can't say enough about the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, and he was a complete dick when no one liked him. I loved him. When he was gone, because when he was gone, obviously he had the back issues. When he lost to Stone Cold, you don't really, it wasn't like it is now. You can't look on what culture wrestling, all this other stuff to figure out what's going on with people. If a wrestler's gone, they're just gone and usually are left to wonder. And I didn't know what happened to him, so I was sad for a long time. Then he finally came back. I'm going on, but he truly elevated the IC title. I can't remember what it was doing before he got his hands on it. I think probably Brett might have had it for a little bit, but before, in between them two, man, not a lot. HBK is the man. He is my number 3.
Yeah, I never was a Shawn guy.
Best, and he's the
And
GOAT.
as far as who was having it before him, before his first reign, I'll just start at Ricky. Because Ricky the Dragon, then you had Honky Tonk Man, then the Warrior, Rick Rude, Warrior, Mr. Perfect, Texas Tornado, Perfect, Brett, Mountie, Roddy Piper, Brett, Bulldog, Shawn.
So you had Bulldog, you could put the Texas Tornado in there, Perfect, and you had a bunch of before Brett.
So there was definitely some people before him. I mean, you had Brett, you had Mr. Perfect. Texas Tornado, even though the gimmick was stupid, is actually Kerry Von Erich, a very good wrestler. Just dumb gimmick. Just not a very good gimmick for him.
No.
Oh boy. This is where things get rough for me. Because number 2 and 3, I have interchanged them probably about 15 times building this list. And I even switched it again about an hour ago.
It's funny you mentioned that, but go ahead.
And I'm looking at it now, and part of me wants to switch it again. I'm not 100% confident on this, but I'm going to go with this. I'm probably going to regret it. I might hear something later. I don't care. I'm going to just do this. My number 3 is somebody you said. He's a 4-time Intercontinental Champion, 437 days. He was oozing machismo. He was the bad guy. Razor Ramon.
There you go.
Razor, I have said, as far as looks, the best person as far as looking with that belt,
absolutely,
the most perfect look with that belt, wearing it, was Razor. Nobody ever looked perfect wearing that belt but Razor. It looked like it was born. He was born to wear that damn belt. It just looked so perfect. I remember him winning it and the referee trying to get it on, and he pushed the referee. He's like, get the fuck out of here. And he turned it on. He just kind of looked and he's like that. And I'm like, yes. I loved Razor when he first showed up. Those vignettes when he was down in Miami Beach and everything. Right. I was like, this guy is too cool. Obviously he's a heel. Don't care. He's cool. Razor, definitely one of the biggest mistakes the WWE ever made was not putting the WWF Championship on that waist. As awesome as the IC belt looked on him, the Big Eagle belt would have looked sweet. That would have looked tight on him. Yes. He'd have been just dripping with gold. Just imagine all the stuff he could have been doing as the champion. So Razor, and of course, one of the coolest finishing moves ever, the Razor's Edge. I don't know how he didn't cripple people with that move sometimes, because it looked like he was nailing people right on the back of their necks. It looked like he was breaking necks, but nobody ever got hurt. So he always executed that move perfectly. Of course, he ended up going to WWE and the whole NWO thing, and I can't stand the NWO. But
WCW.
Yeah, WCW. And I can't stand all that stuff, but nobody can take from him everything he did in the WWF, WWE with the Intercontinental belt. Truly one of its greatest champions ever. I had him at 2 at one point, and he has flipped back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I feel bad putting him at 3. I already feel like I should switch it, but I just said it, so it's too late. Hopefully everything gets better for him. Hopefully he's doing all right since he kind of went under a little bit. Do want the best for that guy. He's one of the all-time greats, and got a chance to meet him. He was a nice guy. So Razor Ramon, my number 3.
I'd say the only person who might have looked better with the belt to me, and it's a close one, will be Mr. Perfect. Because like when you see Mr. Perfect with that towel and that belt, it looks like he was born with that belt on. He should never took it off. But Razor looked great with it too.
It was just something about Razor with it. His build, he had the gold,
He's
his
so damn
trunks,
tall too.
the vest, tall. There was something about his look it just matched with that belt. It just matched perfectly. I don't know what it was.
The Razor's Edge, probably the most protected finisher ever in professional wrestling.
Not a lot of people do that. What's dangerous, one.
Yeah.
It's really dangerous. You really have to trust the other person to execute that move right, because you can cripple somebody.
Yeah. In WWF, now I wasn't a big WCW. I knew what was going on in WCW, but in WWF, I don't ever remember anyone kicking out of that thing. Do you? The Razor's Edge?
It was rare that somebody would kick out of that thing. I'm sure somebody did. Probably somebody like a Goldberg or something. Somebody probably did. But as far as in WWF, I don't recall anybody really ever kicking out of it. But I'm sure somebody, probably Goldberg did or something. I mean, it wouldn't shock me.
But he had a protected finish of that, and he, like I say, he didn't hurt people. So hey, okay. So speaking of flip flopping, today I was going over my list. I'm like, God, I don't know. I got 1 and 2. Like, no, this should be number 1. No, I can't do it. And I'm thinking about the time frame of these last 2 people, and it was tough. But I'm gonna stick with what I got. So I'm gonna go ahead and once I say it is cemented, I can't go back and change it. Number 2, one of the best professional wrestlers of all time. He is a 9-time Intercontinental Champion, 318 days as champ.
Okay.
He has reinvented himself so many times. He's been the Paymaker, Y2J, the best WWE, WWF back then debut of all time as Y2J. Went toe-to-toe in promos with The Rock, of all people. I'm talking about Chris Jericho, straight out of Canada. Great professional wrestler. He was the right person to start as champion as AEW. Put on great matches with Kenny Omega. Put on great matches with Shawn Michaels. With everybody. He is a ring general. He can wrestle any kind of style you want. He's one of the best of all times. Chris Jericho, my number 2.
Chris Jericho was involved in a match I named in a previous countdown as far as favorite WrestleMania non-main events. His matchup with Shawn Michaels.
What a banger. What a banger. Yeah.
So even though I'm not a Chris Jericho fan, I never have been. Even when he was in ECW, I didn't like him. So I've never been a Jericho fan. I just never have. But I do respect him. So he deserves the respect. He's definitely one of the all-times greats, Hall of Famer, and he completely always reinvents himself. He has no problem doing that, and he does that so perfectly. And he can just make anything work for some dumb reason. Stupid idiot. I mean, if anybody else said that, you would just look at them as a juvenile. It's like, really? People still have that sign. I still see people with stupid idiot signs, or you can hear them saying stupid idiot. It's like, did y'all really just say that? And of course, the list
of Jericho. You just made the list.
I mean, he sold a pen.
He did.
He would just hold it up like he sold a pen.
Who else can do that?
He sold a pin. That's a great interview, by the way, with the Stone Cold Broken Skull Sessions. Absolutely. So definitely everybody should watch that Broken Skull Sessions, because we may never ever get another non-WWE talent to show up on one of those again, because Vince is not happy. So
yeah, I guess he's not happy about how the whole thing turned out. But that was a great interview with him. And who else could have sold a pen and a pad of paper? Who else could have done that?
It's a very short list. It's a very short list of people that could have done that.
Right.
My number 2, who was a 3 at one point, and then 2, then a 3, then a 2, then 3, then 2, then 3. He only had the belt once. But it was one hell of a reign, 414 days.
Here it is. Yep.
The other half of the greatest wrestling match of all time.
Absolutely.
The Macho Man, Randy Savage. Randy, you said you would argue that Perfect was perfect with that belt. Another one I would say is Randy Savage. Randy, it. At times I thought the belt had been sewed onto him. It just was. Every time I looked at Randy years later, I still had the image of him with the belt, and Randy didn't even really wear the belt that much. I love what he would do with it. He kind of always held it like this. He would have it connected at the back and just would hold it. Most people I like to wear it, but it was just better the way he just held it. And most people couldn't get away with that and make it look good. But Randy Macho Man Savage, the aerial tactics before they got popular, he was one of the first to do that here. He was one of the big time. It's kind of hard for people to think that because you think of the big buff Randy, but back in the day, he was flying around all over the place. You know, of course, finishing move, the flying elbow, which I fucking hate it when Shawn Michaels does that. I hate when he does that. I hate it when he does that elbow. But Macho Man, just an absolute legend. And again, thankfully, he got into the Hall of Fame, but damn it, we all got cheated out of what would have been the greatest speech in the history of the Hall of Fame, because God knows what that man would have said.
Right.
But it would have been entertaining, and we all would have been just dying, just waiting to see his lips move, to hear what was going to come out of that mouth, because we were never going to forget what that man was going to say, because he was going to say something wacky.
Right.
But it would have been the greatest Hall of Fame speech of all time. We got cheated out of that, but at least he's in there. One of the all-time greats. Again, one of the greatest wrestling match of all time with Ricky the Dragon at WrestleMania 3. Thank God during the Hogan captivity of the belt, Savage at least had the damn thing a couple of times.
Right, yeah.
He was one of the few people to actually hold the belt during the Hogan captivity. Thank goodness. And of course, he was escorted with the lovely Miss Elizabeth, and the whole pageantry of his entrance, the robes, the music, everything just gelled. Love the Macho Man. Could not do this list without saying Macho Man Randy Savage. He's my runner-up, just barely. Number 2, the Macho Man. Macho Madness. King. Randy Savage.
Well, I'm not going to play any games. Macho Man is my number one. I absolutely loved the Macho Man Randy Savage. He is number one for me. Like you said, besides Mr. Perfect and probably Razor, he looked like that belt belonged, 100% belonged to him. Like you said, one reign, but a 414 day just absolute tear with the belt. You couldn't pry that thing away from him. Arguably the best wrestling match of all time with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. His entrance, his promos. His promos were so weird. Even as a kid, they were so weird, but you hung on every word that man said. Randy was awesome. That elbow off the top was great. Randy was fantastic. I loved him, Miss Elizabeth. I loved everything Randy did. He was, I can't say enough about the man. He was absolutely just fantastic. I remember WrestleMania 2 with him versus George Animal Steel. Yeah, I remember that. So yeah, good stuff. Like I said, 414 day reign. Randy was awesome. He is my number one Intercontinental Champion of all time. I struggle between him and Jericho because I have to respect what Jericho did with the belt, but what Randy did was just so iconic. So iconic. I mean, just with the number of days and just the absolute tear that he went on with it. So I went with Macho Man. Can't say enough about the guy. Another one, gone too soon. I wish we could have been there for his Hall of Fame speech. That would have been absolutely epic.
First Intercontinental Champion I even knew existed was Randy Savage.
There you go.
He was the first one. And I also have his DVD Blu-ray set, but I bought the big box set, collector's edition, that
There
comes
you
with
go.
shades and a bandana, and it comes with all the Savage DVDs. It is huge, but it cost, and it was not cheap, by the way. Hence why it's a collector's edition. It's not cheap. But
Okay.
I'm glad you had Randy on there. I'm glad we both were having Randy
Oh,
high
absolutely.
up.
I'm
He
not
deserves it.
Absolutely. And like you said, I'm glad that he was able to get the belt through Hogan's captivity of the belt. And he held the belt hostage for so fucking long. I mean, geez Louise, I'm glad he got it.
Yeah, amen to that. My number one. This guy has been mentioned a few times. He had the belt a couple of times. He's simply perfect.
There you go.
406 days. Curt Henning, Mr. Perfect. There are problems I have with this list here and there. I did not have a problem with number one. When I was first putting this list together, his name was the first name I wrote, was Curt Henning.
I don't blame you.
He's the first. When I think of the IC belt, there are two things that pop in my mind. One, WrestleMania 3, Randy Savage and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. The other, Mr. Perfect. And Razor as well. That's probably third. But the first thing I always think of, it's Perfect as far as a singles wrestler. Because as much as I would have loved for him to get the WWF title, and it's another shame that he never had it, a part of me is kind of glad that he didn't. Because that was a popularity contest belt, and his abilities, he didn't exactly have a lot of partners to work with for that belt. That belt, there just wasn't a lot of people he would be able to work good with. But for the Intercontinental, you got some of the greatest wrestling matches in the business at that time. And we definitely lost Curt way too early due to tragic loss. His WCW reign is definitely not something we ever want to ever think about. Him being a redneck, and that was horrible. That was terrible.
I pretend it never happened.
But I can't remember which Royal Rumble it was, but he came back as a secret surprise entry.
Yes.
Can't remember which one it was, but he showed up and the place blew up.
Yes.
It was a huge pop.
Yes.
And it kind of caught him. I remember it caught him off guard for a quick second. He's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
He's like, oh shit. They kind of remembered me there.
Yeah.
But I was so glad he got that pop. And unlike so many of these surprise people, he stayed in. He was like one of the last four, I think it was. He made it to the toward the very end nearly. And he still looked in good shape. And he performed well in that ring. And he even did the perfect plex. And he did it again perfectly. He nailed it. and again, the place blew up. Curt Henning is, if I was to create a list of the greatest wrestlers, technical wrestling in the history of this business, it'd be hard for me to say that Curt Henning is not number one. He was just, he was truly perfect. Perfect name for him. It was perfect. He executed every single move perfectly. You just didn't see botches from him.
No.
He did not botch. No. And the greatest of wrestlers will eventually slip and botch at least once or twice. It just felt like he never botched. I'm sure he did. But
no, he didn't. No way. Absolutely not.
Maybe once he botched, maybe at a house show that we will never see the footage for. But that's probably where the botch happened. When he knew the camera was on, he wasn't going to botch. No. He was at a house show. He tried not to botch, but that's probably when it happened. But Curt Henning, absolutely all-time great, Hall of Faming legend. the greatest Intercontinental Champion there has ever been, bar none. Definitely, I'd be offended if anybody did not have Mr. Perfect on their list for this belt, because the he made this belt so great, and I don't think we've ever seen an Intercontinental Champion like him before or since. So, my numero uno,
I can't
Curt
argue.
Henning,
I can't
Mr.
argue.
Perfect.
He was amazing.
And rest in peace to Curt Henning.
He was amazing. Yeah.
Well, that is it, man. That is the list. How are you feeling about your list, man?
I was scared to death you were going to have the honky tonk man on your list.
God, no.
I was like, please don't do this.
No. Hell no. I never liked the honky tonk man.
Because he had the belt for so long. He was another 400-something day guy.
Do you notice Shawn Michaels wasn't on my list?
I see that.
Shawn wasn't there. And
I see that.
I mean, this is my favorites. I never liked Shawn.
I see that.
And so I damn sure wasn't going to put the honky tonk man.
Oh,
I couldn't.
I didn't even give him honorable mention. He got no consideration whatsoever for my list.
But there is an honorable mention I do need to mention. I just noticed that I somehow went over his name. Wade Barrett.
Okay.
I put Wade Barrett on there. I loved Bad News Barrett. I loved it.
He's doing a good job on commentary in NXT right now. He's doing a real good job.
Oh, he's a smart guy. He's a smart guy. He's very good with the mic. You can hear him very clear. He's just and from what I've heard, he's a really nice guy. So
okay,
definitely big props to him. And that is our list. What do y'all think? What do you think of my list? What do you think of Blake's list? Please let me know. If you have any ideas for the show, please let me know. There's several ways you could definitely do that. You can send an email. Just send it to the countdown2020gmail.com. You can go over to the Facebook page. Just search at the Countdown 2020 Podcast 1. Go over to the Twitter page. Go over to Twitter. You can just search at the Countdown PO1. Listen to the show on Spotify. You can also listen again on Facebook and on Twitter. On Spotify, just search the Countdown 2020. All are available through Podbean. Just search the Countdown Podcast. I'm also on Instagram. Just search the Countdown 20. And I'm also on Amazon, baby. Amazon Audible. Just search the Countdown Podcast. All I said are available through podbean.com. Please like, listen, and follow. Want to give thanks to Kevin MacLeod for the royalty-free music, Incomtech.com, Ice Flow, that's the music you hear at the beginning and the end. Do also want to a big plug to Third Generation Wrestling. If you're a professional wrestling fan, please listen to Third Generation Wrestling, hosted by the real Big E, and the ambassador, Rob. I pop on there on times, and of course, good brother Blake pops on there. The inside man pops on there as well. He's the inside man with all the inside news. Please listen to Third Generation Wrestling. They just put up an episode recently about worst gimmick matches. I listened to that. Very funny episode. I pretty much agreed with a lot of the matches they had on there. Unfortunately, I remember pretty much all of them, and they are all horrific. But got any parting words here? What would you like to say, sir?
Hey, thanks for having me back. This is fun. We got to do it more often. Thank the listeners. Enjoy the show. Hope you guys agree with me. Don't put Honky Tonk Man on your list.
I'm sure somebody out there was a Honky Tonk Man fan.
Oh, my goodness. Vince.
I'm pretty sure somebody was. I've seen people who wear Honky Tonk Man shirts. So, but I do want to thank you all for listening. Please continue to listen, and I will catch you all again on the next episode of The Countdown. Have a great one. Have a great evening or day, whatever time it is. Bye-bye.